the wise version, like you had, like where the bent
Yes.
over, or you
Yeah.
could have the young man with the new pen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you first learn this ability, the pen is full, but as you get older, the pen like just sometimes doesn't have any ink in it when it comes to hand.
Yeah, and when you master it, you can conjure another whiteboard pen,
Exactly.
but your back continues to do this as you get older, and then eventually you're no longer on screen. It's just like the marker.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just like having to reach up and write on the whiteboard because I've now bent over so much.
Or if you get really good, you can sit across from the whiteboard with the pen in hand, and when you think thoughts, they transfer to the board.
That's what I
like
want.
mastery.
Yeah, that I want the whiteboard. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Elon and some of his stuff, but like if that little chip that he's working on allows me to think and then it just appears on the whiteboard, I'm in. Let's go.
You're a wizard, hey. A thumping good one. I can do. Yes.
That was not the impression. That was not the accent. I wasn't expecting that at all. Way to go with a Harry Potter reference. That was awesome.
Yes, thank you. So, good morning, all. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
We just jumped right in.
We did.
Because the whiteboard is a magical tool. I feel like I need to say it 3 times. A magical tool.
Yeah. It gets 1 inch bigger every time you say magical 3 times in a row like that.
Thank you, Michael Scott.
No, I had lots of calls yesterday, and on one of the calls, I was just strategizing and thinking, and this becomes my beautiful mind playground. And so I hopped into here with Bill, and my board was full, and he's like, oh, is that from the calls yesterday? And I'm like, that was from one call yesterday. And we were talking about how this is maybe the best thing I've ever done in my business, is making sure that the whiteboard is within reach and usable on my Zoom calls. Huge. Taking notes as a salesperson automatically creates legitimacy in the conversation, right? And so going to coffee shops would be like, hey, we're probably gonna talk about some important things. Is it okay if I take notes? Sure. Right. And then I heard the sales coach once who would say, do you want some papers that way you can take your own notes about what we discuss here? Right. And she would hand them a pad and a pen. Yeah. Right. And then every time that she would be like writing down something, she would, oh, I'm writing this down and you're not. Is this not important? And they'd be like, oh, and they would write it down as well. Like, it's it's a very interesting strategy.
I've actually thought about those little like 3-inch notebooks that you can carry around that kind of fit in your pocket, sort of thing. Branding those and keeping some of those with me for that reason, because people will show up without the ability to take notes, and just like hand them one of mine, like, oh, here, have one of these. Yeah, you can write with this. So so it's fun.
Would you do something like a Moleskine? Or would you do like the little field note kind of thing?
More like a field note, just because it's more of like just oh yeah, I've got some extras here. Yeah, here we take lots of notes around here. Let's go.
Interesting.
That versus Moleskine.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fun. It's we did that at Quirk for brand new client kickoffs, which is a great presentation. Everyone loved it every time we did it. So those were just different context. So now I was going to say, the first week I was on the new job, I was taking notes. So I have Post-its for like, hey, we're just got this thing right here we're talking about. I need to transfer it before the call's over at the end of the call. This is kind of just like my temporary spot. As soon as it goes there, it goes somewhere else more permanent. Never keep anything important there. And then I've got like an actual pad if I can't get to my whiteboard, right? Okay. This is my whiteboard, but I can't. My whiteboard's back there, right? And so, and right there. So it's too far. So I got to rearrange the office. I'm going to do that at some point. I just don't have a great way to do it at the moment. But I'm weekend, and it's the second time I've done this with my superior at the time. And we're talking about something, and I'm like, huh. And I just... and I walked back, and the second time I did it was during a group, like a huddle. And Will's his name. Will goes, I love this. I know when Jake goes to the whiteboard, he is doing work. And so that became like a thing. First week, Jake gets on the whiteboard, he's doing work.
Yeah.
Yep. So there it
Oh
is.
man, that's hilarious, dude. I love that. First of all, post-it notes give me anxiety because
Me
of how
too.
small they are, because they're not forgiving at all, right? And so
Yep.
here, I have some on my desk as well.
Yep.
And like I am writing my version of the questions from the coaching habit book, that you were
Yeah.
incredible enough to recommend my way. Thank you very much. And so I wrote them on the wrong part. Like I one of these accordion sticky things, which really bothers me. Like this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, all right, yeah, like yeah.
Somebody wants to keep them together. I don't know. That's
Well, like normally on a regular pad, all the sticky things are here and you can fan them out and everything, which is, is fine. I just don't understand why that is better. Like why is the use case of the accordion stack? And honestly, really, who cares? But the fact of the matter is they're so small and there's no lines. And I have terrible handwriting. Oh God, I have some really rough handwriting. And so I'm like, I'm never going to write anything on here that I'm going to be able to reference ever again. Like that is just what is going to happen if I try to write this on a sticky note.
Yeah, 100%. It's I got to capture it, and we can't really slow down and stop down the meeting for this. So I'm just going to pop it right here, and then as soon as we're done, it goes somewhere else. Hey, good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Michelle.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it's for. I agree, and it's kind of turned it into Twitter for me. So it's like I don't double down on a message. Like I write one message per post-it.
Yeah.
But I don't do it a whole lot. So it's not like I'm flying through post-it notes,
You're like, check out this thread of post-it notes. It's like 17 post-it notes just stacked up on a whiteboard.
Dude, if I ever got back on Twitter, that is what I would do. 100%. Every single one would be a screenshot of a post-it.
Oh, that would be so good.
Tweet.
Yeah.
And I would call it like post-it tweets or something. That's the name of the channel.
And you write it badly, and the only thing you type is like, this is just for me. Right, so like it's like a picture of a hastily scribed post-it note.
Can you send me some of yours?
Oh, do you need something to write on? And just like send them a blank one. Here you go.
Yes.
Just use this.
Yes.
Oh,
right,
Mike Tao. Oh, Mike Tao. I am very curious to know your thoughts on that, my friend.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for you.
I'm going to be like, this is one of those books where I'm only going to tell certain people about it because I don't want anyone to ever come back and be like, it's all right. It will crush my soul.
I love how the answer there is to tell less people about this amazing book and not.
Oh, it's selfish.
And not well, because like the other option, right? Because I'm the guy who ruins everything for everybody else, right? Like Dan had never seen Hamilton before, and I was like, dude, you never seen Hamilton? And I'm like, oh my God, it's me. And then he comes back, I'm like, how was it? He's like, meh, and I'm like, oh, and part of it is just because I build things up, and get very excited about it. So I love how your answer is like, my answer would be like, maybe I need to like not talk so highly about this. That way it can live up to like their
or
own
adjust your pitch. You're like,
exactly.
How can I adjust the pitch for next time?
And Jake's response is, I'm just not going to tell a lot of people about this.
It's not right. I'm going to be like the white shirt, but it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
The teacher will appear. For that to be there, though, like you need to have the book in your back pocket and be like, would you like this book?
It is. Always. Okay. Yes, I live with it. I sleep with it, actually. Literally on fact.
Just like under the pillow?
It's got its own pillow. Have you seen the
three Marvel of them shorts? Are the pillow. What's that?
The what?
I said three of them are the pillow.
Yes.
What
have you seen the Marvel shorts with Thor? There's like where he gets a roommate after Endgame.
No.
So if you go on Disney Plus, they have some shorts there, and they've added like an Agent Carter one. They've added, like throughout the timeline, they've added these little 5-minute shorts to like connective tissue. But they're all not. Some of them are cool. Like Agent Carter, it shows her kind of being a badass, and like kind of transforming into the head of and then but Thor's are just funny, and where he gets a roommate because he's bored because everyone leaves, and he's like, well, I can't really go back to Asgard because it's gone. It blew up. And so he gets this, he moves to Australia because he's Chris Hemsworth. And but the hammer has a little bed with a pillow. So that's when I thought of that, I was like, oh, that's genius. I love it. Especially if you've seen the new Thor. So
I haven't seen the newest one yet.
Okay.
I'm behind on my Marvel watching.
Yes. Well, there's definitely some jokes about Mjolnir in there. So
interesting. Cool, man. So this is weird.
Mhm.
I missed you this week because like we didn't meet on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a quick one on Tuesday, and then we didn't meet Wednesday because you and I had talked about kind of moving it back to like a non-daily cadence. We didn't really talk about it like here on the show or anything like that. And so yesterday I was like, all right, cool, like let's go. And you were doing the drop-off thing. So
yeah, so Wednesdays are all right during the school year, tough. So
yes.
we were like, okay, well maybe Wednesdays off, and then so so the big thing that. And this is how I think about it, right? So like I could hang out with my Bill every day, right? Like I would probably still continue just to have phone calls like this just for the heck of it, because it's a good way to start the day, right?
Yeah.
But there's a level of commitment and pressure, even if it's not big pressure, that you feel to get up every morning and deliver something and not suck.
and not suck.
That's really the pressure part right there.
Yeah,
getting
that's
up,
the important
delivering
part.
Something. I do that no matter what. I just open my mouth and talk. So.
Yeah, exactly. John, I'm great at sales. I open my mouth and words come out. Like that's all it is, right? Oh, maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. So we've talked about different ways to continue to create value and do it in a way that's good, because like we love guest Fridays. Like that's a huge thing. We love bringing people on and chatting with them, and we love the check-in aspect of it. Of hey, what are you doing this week? How's it going? What are things? So we're just looking at some different ways to show up and still provide value and still have a good time with the community. And
our biggest concern is that doing this thing 5 days a week is going to burn us out, and we also just kind of run out of stuff to talk about. Like Melissa one morning or one day was like, you guys really have stuff to talk about 5 days a week? And I was like, I have on average 5 to 6 Zoom calls a day, and I coach at least one. Sure. There is something that I'm taking away from the day before that I'm thoughtful about and thinking about, and why not share that with other people, kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But to Jake's point, it's not like heavy pressure, but it's like, talk about something awesome, kind of thing, or something that's going to be helpful to other people. I don't really know that being able to conjure whiteboards and things like that is incredibly helpful, but so we're going to scale the show back a little bit. So I think the plan is Mondays, Thursdays, so that way we can still be very productive and talk about our, production and our bill bets and everything else like that. And then Fridays are going to be guests. So right. That is the new plan. So next week, though, I am going to be in San Francisco. So we will we can do Monday and Friday, but Thursday is going to be 5:30 in the morning when it's 7:30 here, and probably not going to be able to deliver something that doesn't suck.
Although that might be the best show ever, just to see John at 5:30 might be just fantastic.
No,
like the rest of us. But no. Totally.
Do you know how long it takes to get this hair to do this?
No. Not a clue.
That was the truest tone in response ever. No.
Yeah. It is, Mike. It's tough to make sense. And actually, like for me and John, we've been doing content for so long. Like content is not hard for me. I don't say that in any sort of arrogant way. I just say that as it just comes out now. It's just.
Yeah,
it is what it is. We've talked about this on other episodes, where it's just when you get in that mindset, you're always looking for content. Once you start writing lots of content, you're always on the radar is always on. For me, it's more about what if I want to go do something on a Thursday, and I've made this commitment to John to be there, and I don't want to let my bill down. Like that's much more what's going on in my head than more content, more guests, more like I love all that. I love all that.
Like I have no anxiety about showing up at 7:28 in the morning and not having a plan about what we're going to talk about for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes, because I talk to, right, if the goal here is to show the work and everything, each and every day I'm talking, well, with the exception of Mondays because it's a planning day, I have at least 4 to 5 Zoom calls a day, right? I coach at least one person a day, right? I'm interacting in my community. I'm creating content, and these are the things we're talking about here. So each day, I have some iterations and some thoughts and some thinking and stuff like that. But to Jake's point, because it is so easy, right? Sometimes we miss the value. Sometimes, we we'd probably be better served of, hey, we should really do like a recap show on talking about how the build bet system works and why like motivation and trapping it, like that would probably be very helpful to people who have not been watching this in the first iteration and still continuing to watch. That would probably be very helpful.
Right.
We don't really plan these shows except for the guests. So we just kind of get on and do it, kind of thing. And that means that some of them are going to be not awesome as far as that goes, right?
Yeah.
Like as far as delivering value, it might be entertaining, maybe, I don't know. But as far as being value packed, next level stuff, the one thing you need in your business, it's probably not going to be that every day.
No. And luckily that was never our goal. So
never our goal. Yeah.
So there's no shame on this side of the mic for sure.
Exactly.
So,
Man, how was yesterday? Now that we got the uncomfortability. Yeah. Thanks for being awesome, everybody.
It was good. Yeah. I got to do 2 client coaching calls yesterday. I was on cloud 9. Like when you've been out of it for a while, I kind of pushed my clients to the side now and just have a couple relationships left that I'm working with. And like, I feel like I haven't been coaching, and which really is true, because it's about 2 months now. I have not been on any sort of consistent coaching cadence. So yesterday was super awesome because I got to do 2 yesterday. I get to do 2 more today.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I'm starting to slide into the client role, which is
nice,
super cool. And then we got our content person is leaving, so we got to kind of pick her brain for about an hour.
Oh, okay.
But all the stuff that she's been teaching and her frameworks and her templates and what she sees clients struggling with all the time. And so it was like an exit interview for the team. So we got to so that was, you probably would have loved that too, right?
That would, I would have geeked out on that for sure.
Yeah. So yesterday was almost a full geek out day.
Nice.
It was super cool. And then of course I had some other stuff, a couple standard meetings that I was part of, but even those it's still honeymoon phase for me, so it's,
for sure.
I
mean, but like we're coming into the 90, right? I think October 1st is your 90th, is your 90th day, right? So the fact that you're still in the newlywed phase and just jacked and excited about it, maybe it's not the honeymoon phase, and maybe it's just the place you need to be right now.
That's my feeling. And you're right. As we come into that, once you get through a full quarter of that, like, I don't know what the number is. There's probably phases, right? It's like first week, did I make the right choice? Yeah, seems like it. First month, do I still like the job? Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah.
Okay, first quarter, am I still jacked? Wow, this might be a really great landing spot.
Yeah.
So sure. I don't know. I just made those up on the spot, but that feels like good points, right?
We adopted a dog a couple of years ago and it didn't work out, but we got to do this training session with this dog trainer, and this dog trainer is like incredibly high level. Her partner had dogs on the ground at 9/11. Like that's the level that they were at.
Yeah.
And she was talking about with dogs, it's 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 days to get adjusted, 3 weeks to get comfortable, 3 months for it to feel like home. And I was like, I've never thought about that. I just assumed the dogs were like, well, this is where I live now. And like that, it's kind of insane. There it is. There it is. He's writing that one down, everybody. I got a Post-it note. Only one ever in our entire friendship. And it's not even my nugget. That's fantastic. That's so great.
That's the lesson, John. That's the lesson.
There it is. Yeah, just steal liberally, but make sure that your attribution is there, right? Because that's not mine, So 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. Yeah. That's very interesting. So man, I'm just stoked that you're still happy, right? Because people talk about entrepreneurs becoming unhireable and stuff like that, and it's like, well, part of it is because you're told to like not worry about stuff that you're used to being worried about, right? And like that's just very hard to shut down. Like if you're in like a non-revenue role inside of a company, but you're used to being in charge of everything, like it's impossible to not be concerned about revenue. Like you really have to trust the other people in the organization that they're taking care of it, right? And man, I think if I try to wrap everything up and go work for someone else, I'd be fidgety, like not out of
both roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to have the right role to not be
fidgety. Exactly. Yeah, the right role is really kind of the thing there. And I don't even know that I would be able to define that, honestly, right? So it would be very hard for me to go ask for it or look for it or anything else. And like, I don't really want to go work for somebody else full time. I mean, the benefits would be nice, but like that's about the only thing I would be very excited to do. you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, same. I mean, 80% of it was like, I don't really want to work for somebody else, but the last 20% was important enough to be like, I'll consider it,
that's fair.
And then the landing spot just happened to work,
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
awesome,
the only
man.
way it works is when the landing spot's right. And as I was having those same thoughts as you, I was like, I don't even know if I can even describe what the right role looks like, just because the type of things you get to do as a business owner, especially people like us that are constantly challenging the status quo of our own stuff. It's really hard to define. So I didn't try to. I ended up, I just like, these are the activities that give me joy and make me feel like I've accomplished something with a client, and then turn that around into the conversation around in the job interview, rather than saying role and management level and like that kind of, I'm backed into that. So like, well, do I get to do this? No, not in this role. Probably not the right role for me then. It made it a lot easier to screen, I guess.
Yeah, that's very fair, right? Because to me, you're thinking with intention in mind, right? Like what's going to make me happy, and then going and looking very intentionally for that. So yeah, I just think that lots of people don't ever actually hit a spot to where they're looking for a job or a role, but they don't need that job or the role, and they never actually have that place of like being hyper discerning, because it's like, man, if I'm leaving, it's got to like it. I don't want it to be better. It's got to be better because this is pretty solid,
Right.
over
So
here.
you're going to love this, right? Because when I was thinking through that back a couple months ago, 3, 4, probably 5 months ago now, when I was first going through this, I thought of you, and I never mentioned it because it was kind of a passing thought. It was like, this is how John teaches people to sell. I don't need you. I've got something that's amazing, and I know what I have.
Yeah.
Let's only talk to the people that might be a fit. And even then, I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And so that's how I interviewed. Right. And so I was like, oh, this is a John Sell technique right here. This is this is a Sherpa a moment I'm having.
That's rad, man. I wish I'd known about that closer to when that thought occurred to you. Because like my friend Travis, who's commented on here and stuff like this, he sells boxes, right? And boxes are one of those things to where it's a commodity, and everyone thinks, well, because you have to have it, you got to compete around price and everything else like this. And so Travis does a good job of like not playing that game. He doesn't jump through a bunch of hoops for bids and everything else. But it wasn't until like supply chain issues from COVID really came along. Like they've had like the entire corrugated industry has had increases over the past like 18 months by like 44% as far as just like base pricing, right? Yep. And so he's my accountability buddy, and we meet every other Friday, and he was like, man, I finally get it. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, like, no, like, and I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, my boss has told me we're only taking good clients. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And he was like, clients who are going to do X and Y and Z and provide us with X and Y. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, how do you feel? And he goes, I now get it. Like, I now get it,
Yeah,
it's
the confidence level is just click. It just ramps.
Yeah, like
it's real. It's not put on.
Exactly, right. And then the coolest thing, in my opinion, is you can choose to put yourself in that mode if you understand why you're in that mode, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so then it's okay. When you're really aware of yourself, right? Am I chasing? Do I need this thing? Am I trying to force a fit or anything else? Or am I on my hill? Am I on my hill? And hey, you got to come towards me a little bit and stuff like that. Like my coach called this. He had this one line. It was financially independent and don't need the business, right? And that was his mantra, and that's what he told us to do. And like it never really did anything for me, like whatsoever. No. Like that doesn't do anything. And so the way that I kind of changed that was I have room for 10 clients. I have 9, and my bills are paid. If you want to be the 10th, you better be remarkable, because I don't need your revenue.
So I was sitting in a bar yesterday at lunch. There's a spot right by my house called the Back Porch, which is kind of new, but they got all these beers there. And like, I was like, ooh, I'm going to check that out. Right. Yeah, and there's a guy who's a chef who's kind of selling salsa on the side, but he's a kitchen manager and whatnot. And he's sitting there, and we're chatting because he's like diagonal from me, and we're the only 2 guys there at lunch. And so, and he asked me what I do, and I'm like, marketing and sales enablement. Like it was the toss off. Like,
yeah, I don't really want to talk about this. No, let me load this with language that normally kills this conversation. Yes. I work in sales and marketing.
He goes, really? Like, oh. So I was like, okay, I took one more bite. I'm like, here we go. Put turkey sandwich down, and I go, okay. I was like, what do you do? And he tells me, and this is why this came to mind right now. It's because of what we're talking about. He tells me, he's like, I'm a kitchen manager, but I've been doing this and this, and now I'm trying to start my own salsa business, and I'm selling to these sets of people, and and it was dope salsa, by the way.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But he goes, would your company work with me? And I said, and here I was like, no. I go, probably wouldn't be a good fit for you. And he's like, why? Tell me more. What do you mean? Wouldn't be a good fit?
Instantly.
Just
yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, we mostly work with companies that are established that have 5 million up in annual sales. I was like, we have a new product actually that's rolling out this month, 1 to 5 million. But I mean, have you crossed 1 million yet? And he's, well, no, but I probably will. Like, okay, so
sure does sound like a lot of salsa
when I have that conversation, like. So.
Oh man, like it's the weirdest thing, because it is, once you understand how it works and you can use it well, right? Because in the beginning, people don't use it well, and you set people on fire unintentionally and things like this. But like, when you can get to that place to where you can feel that kind of push pull, and you just let it go, and then it is every bit the coolest thing as the first time you use someone's pressure against them in a very meaningful way in like Kung Fu, and then they force the trap and the hit that comes from it themselves, and you're like, I didn't even have to do this.
Like it opens up.
Same thing.
Oh yes.
Yep. Absolutely. And like, we're talking about this, and lots of people are going to be like, oh, look at these guys, and it's like the other side is worse. Right? Like, because Jake could have been at that bar and the guy was like, oh, could you help me? And Jake could be like, well, yes. Do you want a proposal right now? Like, I mean, you can be one or you can be the other, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about how you're viewed by the person that you're talking to, right? And so I love that, man. Like,
yeah,
to me, that was the guy in the shirt store, right? And I come walking out with the button-up shirt, and he was like, man, that shirt looks really good on you. And me, just as a joke, man, you got to say that, so that way I buy the shirt. And he stops, he looks at me, and he goes, I would like your business. I don't need your business. And I bought every damn shirt that he said after that, right? Because it was like, hey man, discerning opinion, let's go. Okay. Like, he's not trying to talk me into it. That's right. There's something to that, being able to communicate that verbally as well as on the nonverbal level, right? Because some people are like, well, we're not a good fit for everybody, but if we're a good fit for you, we can have a conversation about it, and
yes,
it's like,
and why are you so hyped?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you last week that, my first client that I'm working with officially is, they wrote a book on flow.
Yeah.
And I'm and so it's the same thing. It is a similar concept, as you cannot force into flow. Yes. You have to step back and let flow pull you in, essentially, because of the things that you're setting up around you that will then basically essentially drop you off the waterfall into flow, right? And so it's like, it's fascinating, and it's all it's all here, right?
Yeah.
It's all up here.
All
the activities end up being so that this is prepared, which is the same thing we're talking about in the sales conversation.
Yeah, man. Like, that's such a rad conversation. And what's really, really fascinating is people are like, man, I wish I could be there all the time. You can just like talk, and you can talk yourself into that. You can be that person who, your revenue levels might not be where you want, your closing percentage might not be where you want, but you can still take that second before you go into the conversation and be like, you know what? I'm only going to move forward on this deal if it makes amazing sense. And here's what amazing sense looks like. And it's not how I feel about it. It's got to be a black or white situation. Let's go run my process and ask my questions. Like, you get to control that, right? Or you put yourself into a spot to where it gets to control you, because you're just kind of just buffeted by these whimsical emotions of, oh my God, I'm going to win this deal. I'm not going to win this deal. I hope I win this deal. What happens if I don't lose this deal? Just go in and ask the questions and run your process. Take the anxiety out of it. It's hard to do, but once you understand how to do it, just like Jake was talking about with the flow book, you can build it so that way it's easier, and then it becomes easier and easier and easier the more that you do it. So man, that flow book, I have thought this whole time that you and I had the same level of awareness and knowledge about flow states and triggers and stuff like that. And so you were like, oh my God, you can build flow states. And I was like, you didn't know
Well,
this?
so I knew you could build flow states. I was not aware that there was a formula
Oh
to
yeah, man.
build flow states. Like I know like this helps with flow and this helps
Mhm.
with flow, and then everyone can get to it. And like, but like as a formulaic,
Yeah.
I do these 9 things for the next month. I will now the big piece is actually okay. It's not an on-off switch, which is how I was thinking about it.
Mhm.
That was like the big aha for me. It's like it's not an on-off switch. It's a constant,
Yeah.
outputs or
Yeah.
inputs that will lead to the output that you need. And I hate to run, but I have an 8 o'clock, so
Oh,
we
okay.
can talk about this a lot more tomorrow because we actually
Well,
don't
we
have a
don't
guest,
have a
right?
guest tomorrow, yeah. So we have some more interesting things to talk about. And I got to do just real quick 2 disc assessments yesterday, which is like
Yeah.
my favorite thing to do. And both people were like, "Yeah, man, that's me." God, like just these
Great
crazy
feeling.
moments to where they're like, "How did you even know?" And
Yeah.
it's like, well, you answered the questions on the test, and now we're here talking about it. But just
Yes.
such
Well,
a cool
according to the
conversation.
process, it says you're doing everything.
Well, that means you don't like people like me because you are an I personality type, and welcome to the party because most people don't like me. Uh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but yes, let's go
Caesar
because
like
you
an
have an 8
onion.
o'clock. Yeah, that no one wants to peel. Michael Ryan wants to be a guest.
Okay.
That could be
Book it.
rad.
Book it.
Okay,
Book
Mike
it.
Ryan. Hey, you spoke up, sir. Welcome to the party. You will be a guest tomorrow morning.
That's right. That's right. And we will talk about flow a little bit though. So sorry, because we got to continue this
Yes.
conversation. So
Yes,
if you're
we
in for
will.
that, then it's, no, Michael, I don't know if you're the right fit. I don't know if this is going to be a good spot for us. Why don't you talk to my secretary? You guys have a good day. I got to run. Bill, I'll talk to you a little bit later. Michael, we'll see you tomorrow.
Mike, we'll see you tomorrow.